first type in critical reasoning is based on assumptions. Okay, understanding what are the assumptions in the given paragraph or set of information. So let's take a simple example. So if say the author says scientists do not work in a noisy place, therefore Emily does not work in a noisy place. Okay, let's say that this is what the information is known to us. So what are the assumptions that you can see here? Right, the author is sort of saying that scientists do not work in a noisy place. Therefore, he is like giving up with a conclusion or coming up with a statement saying that Emily does not work in a noisy place. The simple assumption that we all should be able to see is this, that Emily should be a scientist or is a scientist, right? Because of that and this statement that scientists do not work in a noisy place, I can combine both and then make a conclusion that Emily does not work in a noisy place. Because Emily is a scientist and scientists do not work, let me put it, is a scientist and scientists do not work in a noisy place, yes, then it makes sense that Emily does not work in a noisy place. So author is not explicitly giving this, but this is an assumption that we can say that the author had taken, or maybe taken as a granted when he made the statement that Emily does not work in a noisy place. Again, some other assumptions, there is no limit to the assumptions, but this is the biggest assumption I can think of just from this piece of information. Right, you can go in different directions to come up with different assumptions, but at the end of the day, it depends on the options you read and sort of make sense and pick the relevant option. So let's look at another example to again come up with this assumption thing. The company X has developed a new product that uses metal A, which is toxic to kids. In order to protect our kids, we need to ban the use of this product. Right, that is what this entire thing is. So company X has developed a new product that uses metal A, which is dangerous to kids. In order to protect our kids, we need to ban the use of this product. So what are the assumptions here? One assumption is that kids will use this product, right? Because if the kids do not use this product or do not come in contact with this, then there is no problem with this product at all, right? Even if that's dangerous to kids, if kids are not going to get in touch with that, so we have quite a few stuff like rat poison and other things which could be dangerous to anyone as a human, and generally the instructions would read that make sure that kids do not get in touch with that, do not touch this or use this for any purpose. So this assumption is that the author thinks that this product will be used by the kids. And you can also say the other assumption is like the only way to produce this product is using metal A, right? So new product can be made, using only metal A, because it says it's not the product that's the dangerous, it's a metal A which is used in the product which is toxic to kids. Maybe there's a chance that we can make this new product using some other metal B which is not toxic, right? So the assumption again here is that because the conclusion or the expectation is that we need to ban the use of this product, not the metal A. See this carefully. So that means the author sort of feels that there is no alternative here. So if at all this product is made, it will be made using metal A. That's why, because metal A is dangerous to kids, the product is dangerous to kids and the product needs to be banned. So this is also an assumption that the author is making. So there is no limit to the assumptions that you can think of depending on the amount of information that's given, as I said. So do not try to come up with all the assumptions for the questions, rather read it and understand the core points of this. So what is the key sort of information given and what is the key conclusion that the author is coming about or arguing, and then look at the options and pick the relevant answer. So let's come to this. Let's take an example. So the questions on assumptions would look like this. The conclusion drawn in the first sentence depends on which of the following assumptions. So whatever the author has concluded in this paragraph, right, what is the biggest or what is the valid assumption that's used according to the passage or the set of information given out of these four options. If the highways were restricted to cars and only those trucks with capacity of less than 8 tons, most of the truck traffic would be forced to run outside highways. Right, so it says if highways have a restriction saying that only cars or trucks with less than 8 tons capacity should be running on highways, then most of the truck traffic would be forced to run outside highways. Because so what is that meaning? The author feels that most of the truck traffic that goes on highways is more than 8 tons. right? Most of the truck traffic on highways is more than 8 tons. That's why he or she is feeling that if highways have the restriction of only cars and trucks up to 8 tons, then most of the truck traffic would be forced to run outside highways, right? Think about this carefully, right? Because I am not allowing the trucks more than 8 tons on highways, they will be forced to run outside highways. And the author says most of the truck traffic will be forced to run outside highways, which has to be because most of the truck traffic on highways are more than 8 tons. Such a reduction in the amount of truck traffic would reduce the risk of collision on highways. Right? Such a reduction in the amount of truck traffic. So because most of the truck traffic is running outside highways, so once they move out of highways, that will reduce the truck traffic and that would reduce the risk of collisions on the highways. That's the author conclusion. And let's read the first option. The roads outside highway would be as convenient as highway for most drivers of truck. So how would this make any sense as an assumption? Like roads outside highway would be as convenient as highway for most drivers of truck. So it's basically saying that the truck drivers have no difference. Have no preference because they feel it's all the same. So that anyway will not satisfy this condition that with any new restriction that would force them to run on highways, because if they have no preference, they would have anyway done these two equally at a similar level, right? So there wouldn't have been any traffic being mostly on that national highways only. So if anything, I would say this one would be sort of a counter arguing what the author concludes. That is like most of the truck traffic would be forced to run outside highways. If at all they restrict something like this, this should not lead to this if this is true. So this is like actually weakening it. That's not a correct statement. Most of the roads outside highways are not ready to handle truck traffic. So I mean that would not be any relevant thing to this whole thing, right? So again, not making sense. Most trucks that are currently running in highway have a capacity of more than 8 tons, which is correct, right? Which is what I also said as the assumption. Most trucks that are currently running in highway have a capacity of more than 8 tons. So most of the truck traffic is more than 8 tons. That's why if we make a restriction that the trucks more than 8 tons are not supposed to run highways, they would be forced to run outside highways. So this is the valid assumption. So valid assumption is that most of the truck traffic is greater than 8 tons. That's most of the truck traffic on highways is more than 8 tons, has a capacity of more than 8. That's why that's the correct answer. Cars are at greater risk of being involved in collisions than a truck. Again, not making any sense. Anyway, that would not even help me in the conclusion in the first line. That would be something related to this, but even then this does not link with anything based on what's the question asking.